Hey guys, Matthew here. In this video we're going to look at materials and textures and how they relate to objects. So a material is something we apply to a object, and a texture is something we apply to a material. So wood is a really good example of how this kind of works. So say I've got a piece of wood. Well, the actual object is probably just a rectangular prism, and then I apply the material to the object. Now, the material has a series of kind of values to things. So it knows what color it is. So in the case of wood, it might be a browny orange. It knows how reflective it is. So if it's been lacquered, you might give it some amount of kind of gloss and reflectivity to kind of allow for that. There are other material properties as well that don't kind of apply to wood, like transparency, for example, which might be useful in making glass. But then a texture is effectively an image file that we give to a material to make it look more like the thing. So if I just had an orange or brown rectangular prism, it wouldn't look very much like wood. But if I had an image file of some wood, and I use that to drive the color of that object, it would be more believable as an object. So I'm just going to run you through how to do this in Rhino really quickly, just so you have an idea. So to go to the material properties of an object, just click on material, and we can assign a material to it in a lot of different ways. So I'm just going to go to object, and you'll get something that looks a bit like this. So first thing is you can name your material, my material, yeah, looking good. Then you can change its color. So this is what I was talking about before. So the material can have a color, and if I render that ghastly red, it'll render out that ghastly red. Don't need to finish seeing that. I can add glossiness. Ooh, look at that shine. I can give it reflectivity, so it'll reflect a bit of the sun. I can make it a bit transparent, right? So I can see through it. So if I looked at the other end, and I up the transparency by quite a bit, and I type render now, you can already see in the rendered view on Rhino that it's hinting that I'm going to be able to see the table through it. And as you can see, I can. So this is what a material is, right? Then under the basic settings, so let's change this back to white to get rid of that weirdness. You can texture things color. So if you just tick this box, it'll bring us up this window, and I can choose an image file. So if I choose something, there we go, like that, and I put that in there, it'll make that image file my texture. So that's the color channel of the file. And if I render that out, sorry, that is the color channel of the material. It'll put that on the image, on the material, sorry, and it'll render out perfectly. So we can also put this into other channels, so you can control how transparent it is, how bumpy it is, and how it responds to the environment. So I haven't really used this one because I don't use Rhino Render, but the bump channel and the transparency channel only look at blacks and whites. So if something is white, it means it's kind of completely and utterly bumpy, and if it's black, it's not bumpy. So you usually have something that moves between black and white to make something seem more kind of active. So this is a pretty random texture. A good place to just simply find textures if you're in a bit of a rush is to go to the render drop-down menu, go to panels, and then go to libraries. And here is a whole bunch of textures that you can use. So if you go to texture, there's some bump maps here. There's also some kind of actual textures you can apply. You can apply them also by just dragging on top of it, and it will change the texture for you. So there we go. Now I've got a brick road. I can drag that on top, and it will change it to grass, Douglas fir. All of these are not very good. So I'm going to stick with the cobbled stone, and I will see you in the next video.